Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As you see, I'm not in my 100%, I am still rolling around. And I am not a depressive person. I am going through a process of depression, which is not me. I am not depressive. I am in a process of depression. And that's it. It's normal to feel like this. It's not only about me, it's not only about my process, because I really thank to all the messages that you give to me because what I'm feeling. But actually, I am just one of so many that are feeling like this every day. We all, every human, goes through a process of depression sometimes in its life. But now, in the current days, we are going through much more deeper depression processes than before. And this is because everything is changing constantly, every day in our lives. When things changed, normally our brain, our body are trying to adapt to those new things and trying to grab to whatever they can from the past to have a point of reference so it can adapt according to something known. But what really happened is that the body get stressed in that moment, so under pressure. So that's why we start to live a depression. And nowadays, what we are living every day is a constant change. People used to say, for example, that centennials and millennials, those generations born after 2000, the year 2000 or the year 1980s, since that moment, the people started to be much more weak, depressed, sensitive than before. And I've heard this criticized that like critics like saying that generations of today are not stronger like generations from the past and these kind of things. But what really happens is that so something from every day changes were in long term. So people had time to adapt for many years to to one reality. So that gave them kind of an emotional stability. But since the 80s, when internet communication, globalization start to be much more wider and changes in society start to be for every day, it became much more difficult to adapt and to find stability in a constant changing environment. This is why our physical starts to get stressed and annoyed and, of course, depressed. Is a natural process in a constant changing environment. So this is why we are much more sensitive humanity than 50 years ago. We don't have time to adapt. So this means that there is no place to have as a reference. There is no stability or a north to go to find. So it's so unstable that we don't know what to do. Por eso hoy podemos describir, por eso también esa constante inestabilidad nos lleva todo el tiempo a situaciones difíciles, a, a remover nuestros miedos, a no saber dónde ponernos de pie, dónde pararnos, ¿no? And this constant movement takes us to this situation and circumstances in which we have to face many of the fears and many of the things that are related to our incapacity to find a stability, to stand up in one fixed spot. This is why today I relate it with the ocean, because the ocean is like this big, massive water that is held in between seas, and is something that never touches the continent, and it doesn't have a real structure. It is flowing around without any limits, as eternal. In this path of spirituality and awareness, we usually speak about the subconscious as if it's something that is within us, something inside, that you can go there to look for something, and when you discover it, you heal it, you become aware, so you kind of make it disappear. But actually, it's not right like that. The subconscious is not something you can hold within. It's something so big that you can barely picture how it is. So the best way to imagine how the subconscious is to take your body as if it is the conscious part of yourself, and then the subconscious would be like an ocean where you float. And this is how you can tell that the subconscious is so huge and something that is around you that you can't even know what is really there. And actually, we share the subconscious with many others. So it's a constant expansion of information that we cannot acknowledge. I was writing today in the post about some facts that can help us understand how tiny is our knowledge about the consciousness and the subconsciousness. If we take the whole planet, the surface of the planet, we can say that the 30% is continents, is ground where you can walk, and the 70% is water. So you cannot walk on it. And inside the 30% of the continents, humanity only knows the 25%, because there's 5% that we don't know. Inside of it, you have Antarctica, for example, that nobody knows what is under the ice. It's an entire continent that we don't know. And some other areas from other continents that we also have no idea of. And inside the 25%, a person that could travel along many countries, know many cultures, only knows the 1%. So that gives that most of the people just know of the 0.0000 and something, which means that from the territory that we could acknowledge, that we could walk through, we barely know anything. So that gives us the idea that what we think that we know, that all the things that we actually know that they are, like many cultures, many countries, many traditions, that we can picture that they exist, we don't know. um, we haven't been in touch with, and we have much about it. So we barely know actually what we could really know by consciousness. So now imagine the oceans, 70% water in the planet where we cannot live, that we have no clue, no idea of what it is there. Inside the 70%, if we take it as a whole, so a new 100%, the 80% of the oceans, we have no idea what is there. We have no idea what is under the waters. So it's impossible to know because we cannot live there. And we know much more about the sun, the moon, the space, other planets than even what we know from the oceans. So they are really close to us, but we don't know it. So also, if we think about humans in the water, the lowest we can go to the depth of the water as humans is at least 13 meters, just 13 meters. And because the ocean is tons of water, is so heavy, the water is so much that it is kilos and kilos of water pressing your body. So when you go until 13 meters is the most that a body can stand. And after that, we get so much pressure, and under so much pressure that we can die. This is why we need machines to go under, like submarines or or some other equipment that can bring us way below. And also, really funny to know that the common depth of the oceans is 4,000 meters. So it's a lot, 4,000 meters as a common depth of the oceans. So just think about that the tallest territories of the planet, like Tibet and the Andes, they are at 4,000 meters, and almost no one lives there. And so the rest is in the water is mainly 4,000 meters. And when you go also to some other places like the Mariana Trench, you find that it even reaches the 11,000 meters. There's no mountain like this in the planet. It's so deep. Like the Everest, I guess, is like 8,800. So it's very deep, very deep. Also, it's interesting to know that most of the animals that we know lives in the ocean, they don't go much under than 1,000 meters deep. They usually live in only 500 meters deep, but not much more. After those meters, not even the light arrives to the floor. So it starts to disappear. So after 1,000 meters, you have only darkness. This is why nobody knows what really is under the ocean, because you don't have a light, you don't have anything to can see, check what is there. So whatever lives there has to create its own light or not even use it. This is why the sailors in the past, they used to create these stories of mysteries and and histories of horror, like monsters in the ocean, that they could kill them, and because everything was unknown what was under the water. This is why the ocean is like the most clear example to explain how the subconscious works. So comparing it, we can say that the ocean is the subconscious, and when we decide to dive inside this ocean to check what is there, to know what is hidden, we only reach the 20% of all the knowledge and all information that you can find in that ocean. Because on that, you have an 80% which is unseen. There's no light there. There's so much pressure that you cannot find anything. It's impossible to see. So inside this 80% in the darkness, there are like millions of species that we don't know. Creatures that maybe has shapes that we hadn't even seen. And when we go deeper, maybe it's just an octopus or something like that. Because we cannot see it, we don't have light, and we can only feel it. It scares us because we are afraid of the unknown. So in that depth, so under the ocean, most of the creatures cannot have bones or structures that hold organs, because the pressure could break bones or could make implosion in the organs. So that's why they used to be like jelly, like they don't need, that they support all this pressure because they can be visible. And also because there is no light, they didn't have the need of creating a cape of skin. So that's why they are transparent and you can see through them. And so that's why they are like weird creatures with the shape of ghosts. So we can clearly relate the ocean with the subconscious, because it's going to the depth, to the darkness, under pressure, swimming in the unknown, and surrounded by ghosts. We were not designed to be so deep in order to live in subconscious. We were designed to live in the surface, not more than 500 meters or 13 meters for us, which is the unconscious part of the planet, where the currents are. This is why sometimes we make a mistake in between the unconscious and the subconscious. we live in this unconscious because we used to be brought by the currents in the surface of this ocean. So this is why we have so much fear when we have to dive and to look into our subconscious. Because not because the subconscious or the depths of the ocean are a bad thing, but because we hadn't been designed for that. If we want to live a perfect human life, we can just be aware of the surface, which is the conscious, walking through the continents, or the unconscious is like the layer of 13 meters that surrounds the planet in the water. But if we want to become one and to understand the whole thing as one, we have to dive deeper in the subconscious. This is why it's so difficult to face the subconscious, and when someone is feeling like this, like sad, in depression, when we go deep into an existential crisis, immediately we try to make that person going to the surface, take it away from that state. We have been designed through millions of years of searching for the light. So that's why we see like weird that someone would go deep into the darkness. It's merely a fact of biology. This is what brought us to the idea that in order to be an enlightened being or trying to connect with the light, with the divinity, with the I am, you are supposed to be a happy being. You're not supposed to be weak and sad. Who made us believe that in order to be looking for the I am, we have to be like in a constant picture of our sweet 16. I was reading some messages and listening some perceptions, which are kind of true. That's why I bring it here. So I want to clarify something. That there are some statements that say that in order to be a connected person to the cosmos, you have to be in a very high vibration so you can be connected to the everything. So if you are in a low vibration, you're showing that you are not being able to connect with the whole, with the everything. You have to stay constantly in a very high level of vibration in order to show that you are there. And this is not precisely like this, and even if it is true, so I wanted to clarify this. So what is true about this is that a being that is searching for enlightenment, that is willing to be in the light, should be always in a state of a high vibration, because basically the light, the consciousness is there, is in a high pitch of vibration. So you're supposed to be all the time there if you want to hold that state. But if you are like me right now with a very low vibration, So you won't be there in that state of awareness and high consciousness, of course. So that's true. On the other hand, what I wanted to explain is that in order to connect to the everything, to the I am, to the whole, you need to go up and down, because you cannot be the everything by denying one of the parts. My idea of my own process of evolution is not being in one side, is being the everything. To be the everything, I have to go up and down, up and down. I have to experience it all. So I wanted to explain this because sometimes in this misconception of spirituality, we kind of create like these levels to compare the state of evolution of a person according to where vibrates that person. Like if we create this idea that there are people that is enlightened because they are smiling all the time, or the people that cannot smile all the time, they are not enlightened or whatever. And it's important to realize that if we keep that believed, which is much more religious, we would never understand that we are all part of the process of evolution. And that each one of us is in a different statement of understanding. So this is the kind of beliefs that separate us, making believe that there is someone that is much more than others. And there's no one that is more than others. This belief that someone is superior to others. No, we're not. So the universe is not like a club where you can get in according to how you vibrate. This is, if we are willing to connect with the I am, we have to dare to dive in the subconscious. The vibration today is Ruo. The statement today is, I am a dreamer of worlds. The code for today is the Age of Taurus. In this age, the known civilization were originated. The most ancestral ones, like the Egyptian, the Chinese, and the Mesopotamian. Approximately between the years 2140 BC and 4430 BC, the kingdom, empire, reigns, and conquests were originated, looking for the accumulation of power, wealth, constructions and of temples and cities, but above all, the expansion of agriculture. The symbol of this origin was the bull, opulence, but at the same time, the expansion of the different writing systems that gave this period the most important seal. Take a deep breath, concentrate in your breathings, and close your eyes. From the ocean I find myself in, I take a deep breath and dive in as I go deep into the depth and the darkness of my subconscious. and without any judgment, I allow myself to perceive, feel, see anything that comes to me. And it is surrounded by these memories that I acknowledge that I am able to know and to build new worlds within and outside me. I am a dreamer of worlds. I am a dreamer of worlds. I am a dreamer of worlds. I feel, I feel, I feel. Breath, and each one at some time come back here and now, and being these records open, I start to pay attention to my dreams, asking my inner self to communicate with me, to show me what I need to know. Thank you everybody for being here, and as always, see you tomorrow, this time to close the Mind Week of Cancer.